Today we're going to be building a simple rocket.
Your panel should look something like this shown. This particular rocket has two main pieces, which you can see on the left and the right. As far as the small pieces or the rings, there should be 6 of them in total. So what you'll want to go ahead and do is pop out the 2 large rocket pieces, which you see here and here. And specifically, this rocket is version 1.0. Version 2.0 will be able to fly. I've yet to test version 2.0 outside just because the weather's been cold and rainy, but I look forward to doing that once the weather gets nice. So once you have your 2 rocket pieces, you'll notice one big difference between the 2. One has a small slit or a slot towards the bottom section as you take a look at the rocket itself. Go ahead and remove that piece and it'll show this little channel right here. On the other piece, it's actually located towards the top of the rocket. Go ahead and pop that out. If you don't have any fingernails, you can always use a pen or a pencil. And once you have those 2 slots popped out, the one that has a slot towards the top slides into the one that has a slot on the bottom. So go ahead and line those 2 up together. And once you slide those 2 together like that, the model will actually stand on its own. It's actually a very simple design. It stands extremely well and it works great for younger children who are still working on their mechanical skills. As we look at the ring panel on our board right here, each of these pieces are actually arranged from top to bottom. So if you look at the very top hand corner, there's actually the smallest one. That will be the top ring. If it makes it easier, you can push this completely out all in one go. Just like this. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna fold both pieces back and forth, and that little plus sign shape should pop out completely, leaving you with 2 small half discs. Now, on the half discs, you see a deep part of the channel. We are gonna look for a deep part of the channel on the rocket. 2 sides have deep sides, the others have shallow channels or shallow slots. We're gonna line the deep channel or deep slot portion with the deep slot portion on the ring. That way they slide in completely. Just like that. And when you press it in, they should interlock and it should hold together. Obviously, when students are being extremely rough with this, I would recommend that you just use a little bit of glue to hold the rings together. But in general, as far as a standing model, it should hold together just fine. So, since we popped out our first circle, we're gonna go directly below that one. And we're gonna pop out this next circle. And again, you can pop it all out in one go, or if you want to do half and half, that's fine as well. Give it a fold back and forth. Another one, fold it back and forth. And if it doesn't completely clean out, make sure you get all those edges, that way these slots are clean. And line these slots up with the deep channel sides. 1 and 2. Get them all the way pushed in. And once it's pushed in, it should stay. We're on the 3rd one down. So looking at our board again, we're gonna do this one right here. Give it a fold back and forth. Remove the plus symbol. And again, same thing, line the larger slot on the rocket with the larger slot on the circle. Get that pushed in. And it should stay in place. If you wanted to paint it just like this, you could paint it, or as you're popping them out, the students could paint it with the board. The main thing is just to make sure they don't glob too heavy of a coat of paint on there. That way, if they're going to be handling it, you'd have to wait a while for it to dry. So we already did these first three. We're going to go over to this second lower row and pop out the top piece. This is going to be the other center circle. Get that popped out, fold it in half to line them up with the deeper slots. So I'm going to line it up with here and here. Fifth one is located right here towards the bottom. Just like that. And we have one last one. And now our rocket is fully assembled. So one thing about rockets that actually is very interesting is rockets have actually been around for a very, very long time. The original rockets or fireworks were designed in China, and of course rockets were powered by gunpowder. And it's very interesting, even though there may be very small things as far as the design itself of this rocket that may have changed over time. In general, the design of the rocket is actually pretty consistent to what it was. Obviously you have a front and a back. You have the side where the fuel comes out towards the bottom, that way it can cause thrust forward. And just in general, rockets, as well as, traveling in space, has always been something that's interested people. They consider space to be one of the final places that we still need to explore. Obviously, we have yet to discover all the places in the ocean, but I think a lot more people are interested in space than in the ocean, which is actually kind of interesting and crazy when you think about it. So now that you have your rocket completely done, the students can take a moment to actually personalize or decorate their rocket. But we're going to take a look at some really interesting facts as far as the facts of rocket and exploration.
Did you know that the first rockets were invented about 800 years ago and were used for fireworks? Today, rockets are the vehicles that allow humans to explore outer space and may someday even take us as far away as Mars. The first rockets were used to launch fireworks back in the 1200s. That's even before your grandparents were born. Before sending humans to space, scientists sent dogs and monkeys, and they even wore spacesuits designed just for them. Do you think they brought biscuits and bananas with them? In April 1961, the first human used a giant rocket to journey to outer space. He circled the Earth for 108 minutes without getting dizzy. It takes a rocket only 8 minutes to accelerate to a speed of 15,000 miles per hour. That's even faster than a cheetah, the fastest animal on Earth. It takes a very special, fearless person to explore the universe. Do you think you're brave enough to fly a rocket into space? April 12th was already a huge day in space history 20 years before the launch of the first space shuttle. On that day in 1961, a Russian cosmonaut, Yuri Gagarin, shown here, he became the first human in space, making a 108-minute orbital flight in his Vostok 1 spacecraft. Newspapers like the Huntsville Times trumpeted Gagarin's accomplishment. The first woman in space, Soviet cosmonaut Valentina Tereshkova, flew in 1963. However, spaceflight programs did not include women after her until 1980s. On June 18, 1983, NASA astronaut Sally K. Ride became the first American woman in space when she launched with her 4 crewmates aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger on mission STS number 7. Here are 6 quick facts about rockets. A rocket is a man-made vehicle that uses thrust from a rocket engine to travel. Rockets are named after the Italian word rochetta, which means bobbin or little spindle. Some of the first rockets, which were fireworks, have been traced back to the 13th century or the 1200s in medieval China during the Song dynasty. Rockets can be used to transport humans and spacecraft into space. Rockets can be used by the military to deliver ordnances, bombs, over short or very long distances. Rockets are propelled forward by their engine using liquid or solid propellant, which means fuel. I appreciate everyone watching today. I hope you had a lot of fun making your models, and hopefully today you learned something new. This is Mr. T, and I'll see you next time.